Dark Knight. Talk about a bunch of words.
No
Jesus
kidding.
Christ, how the hell did you get through that?
Batman.
Your brain probably.
This is your
exploded.
flashback, isn't it?
All that is words.
Returns. So I caught up on all my reading,
It is.
Well, you were just really bored and you just wanted
and I was
to...
like,
It's
you
like
know,
9-panel grids and it's all words.
it's been a long time since I read The Dark Knight Returns.
It is like the best
You
comic
can see
ever.
this crappy copy
That-
I have.
you
It's
know,
all
that
like
looks
is
a
that
hell of
like
a
the
lot like mine.
Is that like a 12th or a 14th printing?
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's probably somewhere up there because that looks identical to the version I got.
Does it say what print?
Which
I think it does. I think it's probably
Is
like
it 1098?
Unless you have a first, that could be worth money.
Oh, what is
It's
not?
in Happer's horrible condition.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looks just like mine. It's got to be like 9th or
But-
some shit.
Did you figure it out?
No,
Must be a first print.
it must be a first printing. Look at you.
Look at me.
Look at how rich you are.
Anyway, look how young Frank Miller looks on the back.
Oh,
Now, that's
is
what I'm
true.
talking about.
Yeah, I'm with you on
That dude looks like he's aged 100
It
years.
looks like that dude that played Doctor Who.
He does.
Oh,
Tom
Tom
Baker.
Baker.
Tom Baker.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, a little bit.
God.
All right, Dark Knight Returns. Where to begin?
He just
All right,
needs to
so
start.
it's been a long time since I've read it. Obviously,
still
Dark
the
Knight
best
Returns
comic
is a
ever
classic, and it still holds up pretty well. I mean, obviously, it's been copied and imitated and everything for a long time.
34 years old.
Is it
86.
86? Yeah, 34 years.
Jeez.
Not quite
So, yeah.
34 because it probably came out.
I did not read this when it came out because I was like 11 and I don't think I really would have appreciated it. But yeah, it is pretty dense, and I can see like why it
remember
was so
buying-
innovative because of, it does. Frank Miller's very interested in the media. Like, he spends a lot of time just with like the talking heads on the news, and he uses that as a very interesting narrative device.
Yeah.
And I'm not I think it's been done. I think it had been done a little bit before this. I think maybe Howard Chaykin used it in American Flag a little bit, type of thing. But, the way he did it here, and the whole like Batman being old, and the whole like old broken hero coming back. I mean, that's a trope as well.
It is,
but
in
I don't think it had
some
been done.
respects, It
in
really
this
hadn't
way.
been done in probably this way,
Superhero
and
or
one of
with
the
Batman.
major two big publishers at the
Correct.
time of DC or Marvel. To your point, what Howard Chaykin was doing was probably out there on the sidelines in some respects.
Yeah, it was
you
through
know, things.
It was through First Comics. It wasn't
That's right.
Yeah.
mainstream.
So at the time there was some of that darkness starting to seep through into some other areas of comics and whatnot, and I feel like Alan Moore and Frank Miller brought it to a whole other level, getting into DC in particular, and kind of bringing the battered dark
Was it
hero
86?
in.
Yeah,
It's copyright 86. Was
Yeah,
it
86.
85?
I think it came out in 86,
Somewhere around
80
in
to
there,
87,
yeah.
maybe.
Okay.
But-
I remember buying, I was at Prairie Dog. It was when they were in the one by where Hobby Lobby used to be.
Yep,
Yeah.
back there in the
And
back,
going in,
back room.
and they had the display box on the counter, and they had, because that was one
I
of the
remember
very
issue
first
4 being
Prestige.
there. Yeah.
I remember I got number 1.
Oh, okay.
But I picked it up and it was like already like a second or a third
Oh,
print. You know what
yeah,
I mean? Like I
yeah.
didn't, and I was like, what? I was kind of like, what is this? And I mean, I didn't buy all of them. I don't think. I think I'm still missing. I don't think I have a full
Yeah.
Full
set
run.
of the 4 issues. But
Sure.
I mean, I bought the trade. I have the absolute. I have, you know what I mean? Like I have
Yeah.
copies of
You
it.
bought
but-
the absolute?
Fuck yeah, I did.
Freaking so jealous.
That probably is a good idea because the panels are so dense,
Right?
And the writing is so
Yeah,
dense that
yeah.
the bigger and larger format would actually do it some good.
The only thing
Because
that
he
I
really packs
well,
it.
the thing that I don't have that I would really like is the artist edition of it. That would be nice.
The thing that surprised me a little bit is so the panels are so small. Sometimes the storytelling is almost hard to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really trying to push the envelope as far as
Oh yeah.
the storytelling goes with all the tiny panels and just here, Batman's on this thing, he's got a gun, and then we see blam and something shoots out, and then his foot's there, and I'm like, what is his foot doing? I thought he was shooting. And then it's blam, 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 and then he's going across, and there's a helicopter, and he's falling, and he got shot. I'm like, what happened there? You know what I mean? He's standing on this gargoyle, he's got the gun.
It doesn't really matter.
I mean, it's cool, but I mean, I'm like, I'm not 100% sure what Frank Miller is trying to communicate there. You know what I mean?
He's just trying to show.
But then there's the
action
awesome,
scene
like,
and-
iconic
yeah.
splash page or whatever that you remember, you know, and it's like...
And the Joker, the crick, 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 crick. When
Oh,
the Joker snaps his
yeah.
own neck.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the freaking little batarangs.
The David Letterman.
The David Letterman, where he floats his
Yeah.
freaking crazy ass floating poison dolls around.
Yeah,
And,
it's almost that this book has been so many times imitated and like inspired so much stuff since then. You go back and you're like, it loses impact just because it's been so diluted through the years from people copying it. You know what I mean?
I can believe that.
So it's interesting because like so much of like Nolan's Batman and Tim Burton's Batman, they all borrowed stuff from this. You know what I mean?
Well, Batman versus Superman, that piece.
Yeah,
of
exactly.
Shit.
There's so many things that have like been inspired or like stole little pieces of this, you know.
But what was I gonna?
I don't know what you're gonna say.
Well, I was gonna say like some comic book company like in the previews, I can't even remember what they're called, but they're doing like the real Conan.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
And
Ablaze.
The second issue, they have a variant cover, and it's an
Homage
homage
to
to this. It's a
Yeah,
Conan
it is.
book with that cover right there.
Yeah.
Holy crap! 30 whatever we just said. 34 years later, and they're still
It's just so
homaging the
iconic.
cover.
Yeah.
Well,
no,
even what is it? The little bully gang or whatever. The big beast guy or whatever that he fights. That guy even has a freaking Lego of himself that they even threw in like the Lego movie, or the Lego Batman movie, and things. I just remember seeing that and going, "That's from the Dark Knight," because he never showed that guy never showed up in anything else.
What are they? They're the Nazi.
The mutants.
The mutants.
The mutants. There you go.
Go ahead.
I didn't have anything to say. But yeah, I thought I would have more to say about this, but I think I said most of what I wanted to say. But yeah, it's pretty amazing. And like the narration and the voice that he gives Batman is kind of unique.
It still holds up though.
It holds up fine. Yeah, it's just I forgot how dense it is. You know what I mean? Like the small panels.
I tell you what, my favorite thing is the fight. Okay, so here's my thing. I was probably, I don't know, early teenage years when I read this dang thing. And that fight between Batman and Superman at the end just freaking still just gets my blood boiling, running or whatever else. I mean, because to me, it's like one of the greatest fights, of superheroes of all time, in its own way, with just this regular, sharp, intelligent man just beating down the strongest superhero we ever knew, type things. And he does it so well, and with the narration that he has in there and everything, it just pulled me so much in. And I mean, I can remember individual, panels and everything else from that and things going on. And that's maybe one of the reasons why I hate Batman versus Superman so much, because to me, The Dark Knight Returns, that was like the climax of the book itself anyway. And to me, that was such a great ending of everything, was him coming together, and just that line where he says, "I want you to remember the man that beat you," and stuff, as he's just pounding on him. I just thought was just so great. And I had not ever seen that ever done at the time. Now they've done different things, since then, of battles between superheroes and whatever the hell else. But that alone, where you had this guy that should not be kicking the ass of the strongest superhero, just showing what he could do, I thought was just to a whole nother level.
And I think that was the first time where that Batman trope of Batman being so smart he can outsmart anybody and like he can take on anybody, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of, that's when Batman sort of, and now all the other writers have taken that same thing and like ran with it and like taken it to ridiculous levels.
Well, that's true too.
And but I think he was the first one that kind of did that. Like before that, Batman, no one would have even thought about Batman taking on Wonder Woman or Flash or anybody. Batman was just a smart detective guy who fought crime on the streets of Gotham and fought like normal criminals.
And he fought all these criminals,
But yeah, this was the first time where they, and then Grant Morrison took it, and all the other Batman writers since him have kind of taken that to like almost a ridiculous level.
Who was it that did? Oh God, what was it? Was Meltzer, wasn't it?
Brad Meltzer,
that did the the one with the plastic man where he was the murderer.
Oh,
or whatever,
yeah. Identity Crisis.
Identity Crisis, and that might have been the first time. Well, maybe not, but yeah, it was like Batman has a plan to take out every Justice League member. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, no, yeah, exactly.
Did Grant Morrison?
I think
do
Grant
that?
Morrison in that JLA book.
Yeah,
he
did do.
He had like when the Martians came over, Batman was a guy who had the plan and knew the
Right.
fire weakness and kind of saved the day. You know,
But-
so I mean, and Grant Morrison through all his Batman run, Batman was always that kind of
Right,
trope.
but Identity
you know?
Crisis was because that was like the big thing. All the heroes, like the Justice
Yeah.
League, were like pissed off. They're like, "Oh my God, you have a plan to like take us all out." You know,
Correct.
and that
yeah,
was like
and that's
the big
correct. But I feel like all that
Identity
came
Crisis.
from
Well, yeah,
What he did.
from
you're
Frank
right.
Miller showing
Yeah.
how Batman can plan and beat Superman.
right.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
I would tend to agree.
Does
I
that
mean,
have the like a forward or a back matter? Does it have because
No, this is like the very
That's
first
just-
thing. It's got like I mean I don't even think there's a foreword by Alan Moore
oh okay so like in the
written in 1986.
in the either the copy that I have or it might even be in the I think it's in the trade because the first time I read the trade I had like a 14th printing or whatever and it had like an afterword and Frank Miller was saying that he got the idea for the Dark Knight because he was like he actually did the math and he figured out that like he was the same age or older than Batman. And he's like, what the hell? He's like, I'm going to turn him into an old freaking man and just beat the shit out of him because it pisses me off that I'm older than Batman. Whatever. But it was in maybe the copy of the trade that I had or something.
Yeah.
That was a funny story. I mean, that's where he came up with it. He's like, I'm older than Batman. He's like, no, that can't happen. I'm going to turn him into an old man.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, heck yeah.
But,
Well, it's funny because in the very back, like, there's no thing, but it says, with the acknowledgement of the works of Bill Finger and Dave Fleischer, Max Fleischer, Jerry Robinson, Joe Shuster, Jerry Siegel, Dick Sprang, and then Batman created by Bob Kane. So he gives Bob Kane no credit except the credit that he has to have.
yeah. Right. That's awesome.
So, yeah. Did you have something else?
I have one more.
You want me to
You
talk
wanna
about
do-
DK2 now?
Oh, that's fine. Go ahead. Just
Or
roll
wait.
it. This won't take long.
So, after you read Dark Knight Returns, you have to read DK2.
Why?
Dark Knight Strikes Again.
Because you have to remember how not as good it is.
It's just
It's not-
so bizarre.
Yeah, it's,
Okay,
there
it's
you
not.
go.
So,
That's
it's
more
not
the case.
bad.
It's not
just
awful.
crazy.
It's
just
so different.
odd.
It was a money grab.
I don't think it was. I mean, I'm
No,
sure the
it
money was
was.
part of it, but so I was trying to figure out, like, okay, Frank Miller. I'm trying to figure out what works existed in between these two, right? And so I was doing the math. Okay, so Frank Miller did this. He did year one. Then he started doing some of his
He
Dark
probably
Horse stuff,
started doing
where he
sort
did
of
like
Sin
Hard Boiled. Started working with
City,
other artists.
300,
Hard Boiled. He did
yeah.
Electro Assassin. And then he did Sin City. That was the major one.
Yeah.
Electro Assassin was the same time as this.
It was a little bit after, I think, but maybe it was the same.
You were the one that was saying there was like some Facebook post where it was like Dark Knight
Oh, yeah,
Returns,
okay, it was
Watchmen,
probably
and
the same
Electro
time.
Assassin all came out in the same
Yeah,
freaking
I
year.
think that's true. You're right. But so I'm just saying. So Sin City was the major one.
Or no, Daredevil. It was the Kill. Born to Kill, or
Doesn't matter.
anyway.
Focus. All right.
Focus.
So he did
Well, that
Sin
could-
City. The first Sin City doesn't feel that different than this style. Like like this drawing similar. But then as the Sin Cities went on, they got kind of crazier and the art kind of changed a little bit. And then he did 300, which I think was before this. And 300 kind of. He did big panels. Because if you look at all the tiny panels, but then
I
you
know.
look at DK2,
It's
all giant
all
panels.
huge.
It's like splash pages.
It is.
And and the coloring is all computer. It's like Lynn Varley found out about computer coloring and just kind of tried to do some interesting stuff, and everything just. And I mean, part of it is because this is all about him basically getting Justice League back together, right? If you look at it, it's really not a Dark Knight book. It's more of a Justice League.
It is
book,
more of a
Justice
Justice
because they rescue the Atom and then the Flash.
Yes, exactly.
He kind of takes the world back,
And he's taking it back,
everything.
and Lex Luthor is the big.
And
bad
so I
guy.
guess if you think of Batman like grim and gritty, small, tiny panels make sense. If you think about the Justice League, kind of big and more kind of flamboyant, maybe bigger panels, more color, splash, and all that. I mean, maybe it makes sense thematically, whatever. But yeah, I mean, It's funny because I read that Dark Knight 3, and I hadn't read either of these for whenever since this came out, or maybe 10, 15 years. But he plants all the seeds for his daughter with Wonder Woman. I forgot all that about Candor's all planted in here.
Well, hell, he plants that though somewhere in there, doesn't he?
No, I don't think much of that.
Was...
I didn't remember much of Candor or Wonder Woman
but I
or
thought
a daughter.
Wonder Woman and
Superman having a daughter. There
yeah,
might have been a few hints or whatever, but he really obviously goes into it here or whatever. But
yeah, and there he goes into it more. But I thought there was some reference to Wonder Woman and Superman.
But yeah, rereading DK2, I see its strengths. It's just I definitely enjoy the older Frank Miller, smaller panels, tighter penciling type stuff than his newer style. I think that's what it comes down to. From an artistic standpoint, I enjoy it. But I
agree with you. I did not feel like the art and
the writing
DK2
is just
was quite as strong. It's got the bigger panels. Some of that.
Well, and with
you're
this
right.
one, you have
that one, The Dark Knight Returns. It's all Batman. It's pretty focused on that. Whereas this, to your point, is more the Justice League, and quite frankly, DK3 is almost more of a Superman, Wonder Woman type thing. Yeah.
And so it's just a lot more diluted. It's not that grim and gritty Batman as much. And one of the cool things about Dark Knight was the voice of Batman, where he's talking. Right. He has those great quotes and all that.
Exactly.
And you don't get as much of that here. He kind of spreads out the narrative between a lot of different characters, and they're all a lot bigger, larger than life. So it's okay. Like I said, go back and reread it. It's fairly enjoyable, especially if you like Frank Miller.
Yes.
And if you especially like his newer stuff, it's pretty good.
I remember not liking Dark Knight 2 when it first came out.
It's because it's not this.
It's not that. That's right.
But then I went back and reread it because I think the Absolute collects both.
Yeah,
the Dark Knight and the Dark Knight 2. And so I reread it. And I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it when it came out, but I disliked it less when I reread it.
It's not as
later.
Once you change your expectations, it's
well. That's right, and it's not as dense as that.
No.
There was a hell of a lot of story in that Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah. Well, that's
you got
4.
three.
That's only 3.
That's it. Here,
but here's the thing. You only have 3 here.
Well, hold on. These are 48 issues apiece, right?
48 pages.
These are 80 apiece. This may actually be longer.
It could be, and
but
it just doesn't feel as much.
It doesn't feel as much because the panels are bigger, and
that's right.
And some of it's just simplistic, too.
Yeah, it's simplistic. He spends a lot of time with those, news girls who are, nude in the news. And so, and it's almost like he took all the, sex of Sin City and is trying to cram it into DK2 a little bit,
Yeah.
And it's just, it doesn't really fit. And it's just kind of I don't know.
And I think that was the biggest thing that I had difference between the two. I felt like there was so much story packed in The Dark Knight Returns that this one is just pretty much a one-trick pony in some respects, and DK2.
There's not as much to it.
Yeah. But to your point, it's not bad. And I in some cases, I don't feel like his art maybe is as strong either.
It's not.
It's just different.
A different style.
And I don't like the style as much.
I don't
either.
and that's what he's gone to after that.
This has a lot of tiny lines. It's kind of scraggly. But then you look at this, it's a bunch of big lines. And it's not scraggly and it's kind of simpler. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just what he's going for. And that's fine. He's changed it. And that, he does that where inking just kind of, where he just looks like he's just smearing ink everywhere. And it's it's just not as clean,
Yeah.
And I know Jansen inked some of this, but I know he went back and inked some of it over Jansen or whatever.
Doesn't he spend a lot of time in there too between the Superman Wonder Woman relationship? And
that's what I mean. It's really focused on them and their daughter a little bit, and then freeing the Justice League and just kind of getting the band back together.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just doesn't have the same impact.
Yeah.
The story beats aren't quite as strong. It's just.
But as a Justice League type of story, it's in a what if or futuristic type thing, it's not bad.
Not bad. It's fun.
That's right. I would agree with that.
But
it's just that build up of something that trying to build upon something that was so strong it's damn near impossible.
Yeah, and the fact that he tried to do something different, and his art is so much different by this point. Even
what's the difference in time between that? Did you mention it?
I think 14 years.
14 years.
I think that came out in 2000, 2001. So.
Okay.
I'm going to say it's 2000.
God.
So it's not...
Boy, don't I feel
2001, 15 years. Because that was 86.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
2000. But still, that's 19 years ago now. I just think that it wasn't that long ago that I
Yeah, I
picked
thought
up
it
that.
came out even earlier. So I said 2001.
Oh,
So
really?
I, was
I
like,
thought it was even
so I was
later
like,
than
I was
that.
out of college. It seemed like I was reading this in college, but no, this was
See?
like after
Well,
college.
that makes sense. 15 years, 15-year anniversary.
Yeah.
They're like, let's do it. They finally threw enough money at him.
Yeah.
Because I remember at the time, it was like $1 or $2 million that he got paid to like
Yeah,
do
something
Dark
like
Knight,
that.
and it was like an insane amount of money for comic books. Like,
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure they made money.
I'm sure
they're
they
still
sold it by
selling
the
it now.
freaking
They're just wrapping
tons.
up with the Absolute with the first one. They sell it, all together.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's funny. I was thinking the same thing. It's only 3 issues. That's why it's so simpler. And then like, wait, these things are like 80 pages a piece. It's like it's almost longer. Like, how is that possible?
Yeah.
yeah, but I bet you get more panels and.
Oh yeah, no,
in the
definitely.
first one.
Way
Oh,
more.
yeah. Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
just denser story.
That's the big thing. I mean, you read through Dark Knight Returns, and I mean, you are dealing with 4 individual stories throughout that whole thing.
Yeah,
right?
this feels like more like one big story.
And that
too.
feels like one big story. That's right.
That's another good point. That's a difference in the pacing and and a lot of it just feels like he's cramming stuff in. Like Big Bart is in like one panel. It's like, I just want to get
Yes.
Big Bart in there. It's like,
Yep.
okay.
Did you see the commission that Kelly posted for the Miracle Man?
Oh yes, that was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool.